What's up, guys? Welcome to our very first episode of Keeping It Clean, Keeping It Cool, Keeping It Christ-like. I'm Nyla, and this is my guest, Asha. And today we're going to be talking about Christian culture and Christian arts. So let's get started.
Yeah. Christian musicians as well. There's been a lot that's been going on recently with certain artists in terms of how they've been portraying themselves and just the Instagram community and their music in general. They have very much Christian fan bases, so we just kind of want to talk about how maybe the Christians are responding to that. Maybe what the artist might be going through personally that might be causing that as an issue for them. And just how should a Christian respond to seeing that, right? Like you see your brothers and your sisters responding to another brother and a sister in a certain way, and just kind of putting a voice onto that and saying, okay, well, is this okay? Is this not okay? Etc.
Yeah, especially for this channel and for this media organization, I definitely wanted to take time to break down like how Christians should present themselves and how they should express themselves as Christians and as artists.
Mm-hmm.
There's a such thing as compartmentalizing your faith, and that's something that you don't want to do. So we're just trying to figure out like where to draw the line, where are the boundaries between I'm an artist and I'm also a child of God. So what does that look like? What does God call his people to look like? Even our identity, it's not rooted in our art, but it's rooted in God. So we just want to talk about a little bit about that.
You brought up a very interesting point. Am I an artist or am I a child of God? Even that, like, well, which one comes first, right? Like you mentioned identity, like, well, is my foundation a child of God or is my foundation an artist that just happens to be a Christian? The whole Christian artist versus artist who is Christian argument or debate that a lot of artists like to speak about, maybe for like views or I want to reach the lost or whatever the case might be. I do think that as Christians, obviously our identity is in Christ. So with everything that we do, whether you're a chef, whether you're whatever job, occupation, schooling, whatever it is, you're a Christian first, right? Like you're held accountable to God first. You're going to be with him in eternity. So you're not going to be a chef in heaven. Probably not, I don't think, right? But, so
well, maybe you are.
What comes first? Who knows?
No creation.
Yeah.
God created people with talents, obviously, with gifts. And you see that even when he built the tabernacle. He had specific people in mind for the building of his tabernacle. Different artisans, different crafts. And so I think it's important to say that, like, gifts are from God. Talents, not just, like, spiritual gifts, like prophecy or all that stuff, but also can you paint? Can you draw? Can you sing?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, God created those things. But when he created them in mind for his glory. So I think that a lot of people, when they think of themselves as being an artist, they think too much of, like, I was created to express myself, but no, you're created to glorify God with your art. Yeah. And so there are boundaries even with that. I think especially in American culture, that's one of our amendments. You have the right to, like, express yourselves, freedom of expression. But even that comes with limits and boundaries. So it kind of works the same way with God. So I don't know. What do you think is, like, the line between, like, expression versus, like, worship?
I mean, art is a beautiful thing. Art is God's gift to us. A lot of people, might tend to use art, more so the secular folks out there, might tend to use art to justify certain things or justify sin. Like, they might have like a statue in New York and it's like some weird looking demon thing and everyone's like, oh, it's just art. It's not some satanic nonsense that all these Christians are spewing. And it's like, bro, yes, it's art, but that's kind of where the line is, right? Like, well, is my art glorifying God or does my art glorify sin? What is the image actually showing, right? It's not justification. It's not like, oh, just because it's art, it's in its own box, and therefore we can't categorize it as under morality or categorize it under right or wrong. And first of all, God is the greatest artist. So look at the skies, right? Like, look at human beings, right? Like, God is the one who created all of us. So I very much think that God is an enjoyer of art. God is a God of beauty. God is a God of order and just talent, right? Because he shows that in himself, and he's put that in different people. So art itself, talent itself, these things are not bad things, but they can be used to glorify bad things, which and then I think would encompass them to be sin. So the line itself, I would say, is it sinful or is it not sinful? What is it glorifying?
And like, what do you? Well, we know what sinful is, but like, get an example.
Okay. I'm thinking of this. I don't even know what you would call him. A Christian influencer, Christian on Instagram, kind of into the politics movement. His name is Ryan Beckford. Have you ever heard of him? He's this black guy, a little bit. Picture. Okay, a little bit more conservative, not political. Just saying what his views are. But it seems like he came to faith recently, like within like the last year, and he started making this clothing brand. We're not going to show what his clothing brand is because it's not anything that's good.
I don't have his clothes on, do I?
No, you don't. So it's weird. It's like he's got a shirt, and I want to get this shirt. It says like "Free me from the sinning flesh," right? It just says like it's a regular white background T-shirt, red words, "Free me from the sinning flesh," right? And I think that's so cool as a shirt, right?
Okay.
Jesus obviously did that for us, right? And then he also has other clothing items where it's like it's his face riding like a tricycle, but the tricycle is a woman, and he's riding that bike. He's riding that tricycle.
Okay.
And yeah, it's got, obviously certain body parts out, and I think the woman has like her tongue out, and I'm just like, yo, like what the heck is going on here, right? Like he probably thought this was like art and it's the coolest thing ever, and he's mentioned struggles with lust before and whatnot, so I understand that, but doing that is not going to help you in your battle with lust. It's only going to bring glory to it, which shouldn't be done. So people might just say, oh, it's just a clothing brand, it's not that serious, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's obviously sinful. So it's just like your conventional sins, right? Like, don't promote witchcraft in your art. Like, don't promote lust in your art. Don't promote cursing in your art. It's like, you're basically just your conventional sins. The same way how, if you wouldn't listen to music or shows with that, why would you make art like that? You treat it with the same type of respect, is what I'm getting at,
The Bible has witches in it. The Bible has demons. They have angels and all that stuff. But you can't make that the face of your page or your branding. Like, you may have a fascination with the way things look, because it's artistic, it's pretty, but that's not the focus. Like I like the way angels look, and I don't mean like the regular
biblically accurate angels.
Yeah, I mean that. No, I like the biblically accurate angels.
Okay.
But I would never like.
I feel like that should be a theology name, like biblically accurate angels. Like,
yeah,
theology type.
I like the way it looks, but I wouldn't like make a biblically accurate angel the face of my entire brand, or I wouldn't make a serpent like the biblically accurate serpents with the wings and the dinosaur snake looking thing. You know what I'm talking about? That sound crazy? I wouldn't make that the face just because it's like biblical, like it's in the Bible, doesn't mean that's the focus. So when you make art, you got to realize that you're saying something about your identity, but you're saying something about God. So you're an ambassador for God first. On that note, now we could talk about Montell. So,
dun, dun, dun.
No, not dun, dun, dun. We're not gonna grill him. We're not gonna roast him or anything like that. But there is an artist that some people may be familiar with. His name is Montell Fish. Christian artist. And he made music. He made some YouTube videos that I watched. Actually, really enjoyed his music and his YouTube videos. They were very edifying. But recently, Montell Fish has taken a shift in turn in his content. And it definitely did like alarm me a little bit. Not alarm. I was concerned because I didn't know exactly what he was getting into.
Yeah, he makes like what genre would you say it is? I know like I consider it like love-ish. In your feelings music. Just got broken up with. You want to listen to some Montell. Girls playing games with you, guys playing games with you. Listen to some Montell. It's just beautiful music in general. So. Kind of like an indie, I think like an indie almost vibe.
It's like alternative stuff. And then on the screen, we're going to put a few of his recent posts. I think this was taken in December, I believe. December, November. I don't know. I'll put the specific date up. But he has since removed this post from his Instagram.
Oh, okay.
But you'll see what exactly I'm talking about.
You screenshotted it?
Yeah, do you want to look at it again?
Wow, I didn't even know he removed it.
Yeah, that's why I took a screenshot.
Yeah, so as you guys can see... This has 11,000 likes.
At the time, it had 11,000 likes. That was 40 minutes ago. You see
so you screenshot. Wow, you're probably like, yo, what is Montell doing right now?
I had to take a screenshot.
You're in go mode.
But when I checked back like a week or two later, that junk had like 70,000, over 70,000 likes. So 70,000, and he only has about 300,000 followers. That's a good chunk of your followers.
This is his most liked post, right?
That was his most liked post.
Rebellious, I get it.
And I was kind of like, whoa. Yeah. Somebody else, I can't remember his name, did a video on Montell Fish, and he actually made videos with Montell Fish in the past. So he wanted to like address the topic, and I loved what he was saying in the video. Like, this is not a roast. We're not like grilling Montell Fish, because I don't know what he's going through personally, but I feel like this is an example of an artist crossing that line, that expression. One thing I wanted to say that I noticed about Montell Fish, like recently, or I don't know, maybe it wasn't in the past and I never peeped, like he had this fascination with deers.
Yeah.
Deer and ghosts and cigarettes. Like
the weirdest trio.
Yeah, deer, ghosts, cigarettes. Not
like you
Father, Son,
can't.
Holy Spirit.
Yeah, you can't even consider. I mean, somewhat of an unholy trinity. You got cigarettes in there, but deer are pretty neutral. So
yeah, it's like I was like, okay, where's this going? You know, Ghost Boy. That was another thing, and I'm just like, okay, he's just eccentric. Like, you know, he's a little quirky, and I'm quirky too. So I embrace the quirks. I like the quirks, but the quirk was a little weird with when he had a ghost. And it had a cigarette out his mouth.
Yeah.
And like I get again, like I'm saying, like I'm not picking on Montell, but it was just like, oh, okay, so like where's this going?
You know, he's got a cigarette in his mouth, trying to do like this cool bad guy kind of vibe. It's like we don't know what his intentions are and what the purpose is behind it. Maybe it's attention seeking. Maybe it's, you know, trying to bridge the world with, you know, Christ or Christians. But regardless, it still has that consequence or that, you know, that look of, well, it's kind of watering things down. Like, oh, well, so Christians can post on Instagram with cigarettes in their mouths, right? I'm sure there might have been a lot of people in the faith who watched Montell were like, oh, well, does this mean it's okay? Because, you know, it's not lit. He's not smoking it. You know, what is he really trying to say? It's like, I consider it the same thing as having a line of coke up to your finger and going like this for a picture, you know? Poetry.
I was, but I was really trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I still am to this day. Like, I really don't know what's going on. But there's something that he said in his comment, or his caption, sorry, when he posted this that kind of, like, stood out to me. Because I was like, okay, wait a minute. This is now entering a different realm. This is no longer like Christian. So okay, other than
I kind of wanted to read it. I wanted to when I had it, like when I had the phone, I wanted to read it. Although they could probably see it, but
so there's two posts that he said. So we're gonna read the first one. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah. So there's obviously I know a lot of Christians judge me because you don't understand me or you want me to go back to making some old stuff. But my goal is not to be understood by you anymore. It's to comfort the lost through art. Just off. If you don't like my Ghost Boy, sign Ghost Boy. See the real at No Blondes Tonight. What's No Blondes Tonight? Was that like a concert he did, or like is it an album?
I don't know if it's a campaign or what.
Okay, political campaign. You know.
His hair is blonde. I don't know. See, listen, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but then after this one, it's kind of like, whoa.
I read the comments on this, and like people were getting onto things. People were getting onto something. I agree with some of the stuff they said. So it seems like he's like, I guess, putting his sinful almost aesthetic or sinful image onto this person known as Ghost Boy.
Yeah.
So it's like he's not really like being accountable for the fact that he said these things. He's like, oh, well, this is just Ghost Boy saying this. This is Montell, right?
Yeah.
Like Ghost Boy, Montell's not held accountable. Montell's not sinning. Ghost Boy is.
See why I thought the ghost with the cigarette was like his old self, the old body. But now Ghost Boy is Montell.
Ghost Boy should be dead if Ghost Boy is the old him when he believed in Christ. You know?
I don't really know what's going on. But what he said in his caption, it was but my goal is not to be understood by you anymore. You as in us Christians, is to comfort the effing lost through art. So that one, those two sentences is what really stood out to me, and it's kind of what made me want to make this video, because why are we comforting people through art? Lost people through art. So I got some scriptures.
Pull out the Bible.
Like, okay, anyways. So I wanted to say a few things about like the lost, I guess the evangelism aspect of being an influencer, being an artist. And I wanted to say this for 100%, like, I don't know, a disclaimer or whatever, but like as a Christian influencer or any influencer, you're put on a platform that half the time some people don't really want to get to that level. Like, you're kind of idolized in a way. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or not. You are seen as the example. You are the epitome of whatever the heck people are looking for. And so I feel like with Montell, just as much as any other influencer, he got to a platform, a pedestal, and now everybody's looking at you. And with that, there's pressure. There's mad pressure.
Definitely.
But I think we have to remember as Christians that we are not the epitome. We're not the examples. We are ambassadors. We're not the example. Jesus is.
Amen.
So no matter what pressure that comes, Jesus also tells us, you know, come to me if you're weak or heavy burdened. If you're feeling some type of pressure because now everybody's looking at you and there's a standard, there's an expectation, know that you're not the example. You're not the epitome. Christ is.
You're a reflection of the example.
Exactly. So even for Montell Fish, I don't know if he'll even see this video, but like, if you're feeling pressure, you feel like people are trying to understand you or judge you, and we'll be talking about judgment, then know that you can go to Christ and lay it down. Like, I know it's probably difficult because you're making money and you're in a place where this is far beyond you. Now other people are involved, but you have to know how to get back into your quiet place with the Lord. The other thing I wanted to say was that Jesus didn't come to comfort the lost. He did not come to bring comfort. So I have a scripture right here. Matthew 10:34. Jesus said he came to bring the sword. He did not come for peace. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, Jesus is about peace. You know, he was a martyr. Even if you like dismiss the metaphysics of Jesus Christ being the Son of God, some people still accept him as some type of form of martyrdom, and Jesus was a martyr bringing peace, like he was like Gandhi or something. Yeah. But that's actually not what he said. Out his mouth verbatim, he said, I did not come to bring peace. I came to bring the sword. But that sword cuts between bone and marrow. The sword is the word, and the word is from God. So this sword, it makes a clear distinction between what is righteous and what is wicked. Yep. It does not comfort lost people through art. That's not what it does. It doesn't comfort. A sword hurts. A sword.
I don't know if anybody's ever been stabbed before, but
a sword hurts. Like yeah. It's not always comfortable. It's powerful. That's what Jesus came for. Now he said he came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So his people, the people that want to actually have a relationship with him. But comfort, though God can be a comforter, that is something that he does. But it comes with accountability, and I think people forsake that. Like, you don't just comfort people who are sick, you heal them. Yeah. And healing could be surgery, it could be stitches, and that junk hurts.
It's like they want the Band-Aid, but they don't want to be told to, you know, not jump off the cliff again, right? Like, you want, okay, I want the little, you know, the fix, all right, Mom, come give me this hug, but you don't want the lesson. All right, don't do that again, right? That's what it really is. It's that discipline, it's that accountability, it's that chastisement that people, they want one side of the coin. It's like they want the love, they want the acceptance, they want, you know, the feelings, but when it comes to actual discipline, actual correction, well, you know, are you actually going to follow what it says? They're out the door with that one, so.
No, and God chastises those whom he loves. Like, I'm going to put all these scriptures up so that you can see. I'm not just talking it out the top of my head. Like, this is scripture. God chastises those whom he loves. And you can look up what chastisement is. Yeah. Like, have you ever been chastised by God?
I wouldn't be here today if I wasn't.
Like that, it doesn't hurt, but it's like kind of scary.
I mean, and we don't know who knows if Montell's done that behind the scenes. No one's saying that he hasn't done that, or that's not, you know, something that he's interested in, but all we really know is what we see, right? All we really know is what's on social media, and that's not always, you know, a good reflection of what someone might be going through in their prayer closet. So like, yeah, we're not saying that as Christians, you know, we don't fall, or that, you know, sometimes there isn't a season of struggling with sin, but, you know, what I really feel like is important is, well, yes, it's important to you know, do what you do behind the scenes and be with God and commune with God and all those things. But what's also really important is, how do you show yourself, to present yourself to others? Like, how are you being reflected in others' lives? Because people are influenced by that. Every day you wake up and you decide to do X, Y, and Z, people are seeing you, people are hearing you, people are being encouraged or not encouraged. It's really a lot of modeling, right? Like, obviously we evangelize with our tongues, right? God calls us to go out and evangelize, preach the gospel to all nations, but there's also power in your actions, right? Like, a gospel, a word-filled gospel with no action behind it, right? Are people really going to be convinced? Are people really going to desire to come to Christ if it's like, well, he's saying this one thing with his tongue, but his actions have literally nothing to do with his tongue? That's basically manipulation. That's manipulation right there, right? Like, your actions don't align with your words. So, yes, like I said, as Christians we fall short, but we need to make sure that, especially when you have such a, you know, a high follower count and a lot of influence as that, like, you want to be able to really reflect Christ, right? Like, those who aren't being seen, it doesn't have that much of an effect, but people like Kanye, people like Montell, you know, these really big Christian artists who, you know, might be having mental health struggles that might cause them to sway a certain way. Like, I understand it. I want to be a therapist one day.
Kanye, but
that's a whole nother episode, but mental health is very serious. But, you know, don't post anything, right? Like, get off Instagram if you got to. Deactivate your account. Like, do not post that crazy nonsense. Just, you know, Go to God. Go talk to your friends. Go talk to those who can love you and pour into you. And, you know, we just gotta be careful about how we reflect our Christ. How are we, you know, showing Christ, basically. Right.
And I know there was Naomi Raine. If you guys know who Naomi Raine is, she's a singer, and I believe she won. What's the one? Is it Grammy or Emmy? Which one goes to singers?
I listen to Christian hip hop. I don't listen to. Yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe they know. They might know. You know.
She won a Grammy. I sound so slow right now, but whatever one goes to singers, you know, with Maverick City. You know, Maverick City was at the awards or whatever. Mm-hmm. So going back to Naomi Raine, She had this song, and it was like, I'm not ready. And it's like, I'm sorry, Jesus, but I'm not ready. I don't know. But I don't know about y'all. Personally, in my bubble, I didn't look it up or nothing. There was a lot of people that was like, should she have made that song saying, I'm not ready, Jesus, I'm not ready to change. In my bubble of people that I know, there was like some type of controversy over that song, because it was like, okay, well, how transparent are we with people? I'm sure we have seasons where we feel like that. Like, do we air it out though? And there's nothing wrong with telling people that you're in a vulnerable state right now. Being vulnerable, being transparent, there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like there has to be some form of a volta. So like David does it in a lot of his psalms. If you look at Psalm 73, David talks about desiring to be a part of the world, doing worldly things. But then by the end of it, there's this volta, there's this shift in his emotion, where he's saying, even though I desire to be like this, God does tell me that the wicked go one place and the righteous go the other. He said that, is there a point in even being righteous? Like, these people, they eat and eat, they get fat, and they don't experience hunger pains till death. Like, basically, you see people in the world, and it's like, well, they have no consequences, like, at all. They do all this stuff, they're getting richer, they look good, like, and I want to be like that, but I know that I shouldn't. So what's the point of walking with God? David got real, and he even said it. And I'm saying it verbatim because I don't remember off the top of my head, but he said, if I had said how I felt in that moment, I would have misled God's people. But there's a very obvious volta, or a change and shift. I'm going to just leave that word alone because I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. Yeah. But there's a change and there's a shift in how he feels. He gives God the glory by the end of that. And I'm not coming for Naomi, Raine, or nothing, but we have to always remember that we're giving God the glory, even if you don't feel like it, because at the end of the day, he's going to get the glory. So, like, you're either going to be forced to bow down or just bow down on your own, like... But
you mentioned vulnerability and transparency. I was thinking about something, right? I don't know where I'm really going with this, if this is even correct. I'm not necessarily saying I agree with this, but, you know, are there certain things that, you know, we should pray that we shouldn't actually put in songs? Like, for example, the lyric that she had, right? Like, Jesus, I'm not ready, right? Like,
the whole song, I'm not ready to change.
As a Christian, everybody can relate to that at some point, right? Like, God's calling you in this one area, and, you know, maybe you're feeling fearful, maybe you're feeling doubtful, and obviously you're praying about it, but you're still maybe feeling this way, and it's like, well, maybe God is calling you to act despite that you have the fact that you have those feelings. So it's like, you know, she was being transparent, she was being vulnerable, she was being real. She's like, yo, Jesus, I'm not ready. I don't feel like I'm ready. I'm not saying it to say I'm idolizing my feelings, I'm idolizing my words, or at least I don't know her intentions, but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. But she's just expressing how she feels. But that's obviously a really great prayer. God, I'm not ready. God, I need your help. God, please, I want to do it, but I'm fearful, I'm afraid. You see that theme all throughout the Bible with human beings. We're fallen creatures. God knows that. But it's like, for someone to put that on a song, you know, how is that influencing others? Like, yes, a lot of people can probably relate to that, and they might maybe even feel encouraged that, okay, well, people are going through the same thing as me, but I feel like also at the same time, people might hear that and they're like, oh, well, is it okay to not be ready? Is it okay to just tell God all the time, well, I'm not ready, right? Is it okay to just never be in the season of readiness, right? So, I mean, I don't know. Like, what are you thinking? I don't really know how I feel about that one. I'm all for vulnerability and transparency, you know?
That's still a question I don't know the answer to either. I'm very much, I feel like we should be vulnerable and we should be transparent, because we don't want to ever give the impression that once you come to Christ, everything's going to be peaches and rainbows. You'll never have to struggle again. Like, there'll never be a problem. I don't like that type of doctrine. Like, that's what makes people get out the church, because when they get problems, it's like, I was promised that I wouldn't have any. You're going to have problems. You're going to struggle. So I really want to, like, commend people like Naomi who are vulnerable and who are open. I think it's all about balance. Okay, so let's talk about the people that love God. Let's talk about the church. I hate that word, church, but the church, because we want to talk about judgment. Somewhere in Montell's post, and, you know, honestly, I want to thank him for making this video, because it definitely gives me, like, an outline of what to say, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but not that video, that post. The post, it gave me, like, an outline of stuff to talk about. So, thanks, Montell. But, judgment in the church. Like, he said he feels like a lot of Christians judge him, or he knows a lot of Christians judge him. What kind of judgment is he talking about?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Let's be real here, right? I think, in general, there's a huge misconception about how the world sees Christianity, and even sometimes how Christians see Christianity. This misconception is that, Christians are non-judgmental people, right? The word judgment is in the Bible, right? When people hear the word judgment, a lot of people think of two different things sometimes. Some people think of, well, they're condemning me. Some people think of, well, they're making a statement that makes me feel bad, right? I'm offended, I'm hurt, why are they telling me this? Well, don't judge me, right? Who are you to judge me? It's almost like you have to have a right to judge someone. You have to have like some legal authority, right? Judges are a real profession. Judges judge people, right? To be a judge, you got to go to school for like how many years? I don't know. But like, yeah, it seems like, well, people tend to have this belief that only God can judge, right? Only God has the power to do so. And that is actually not the case. That is not the truth. As a Christian, as a born-again believer, right? Like, you are a disciple of Christ. Like, you are God's child. Like, you have authority. You have power. Like, you can make judgments about other Christians, right? Like, and when I say the word judgment, you know, maybe to, I guess, help people understand what I mean by that. I'm not saying condemn others. I'm not saying you have, you know, legal ground over them. You're above them and you're hitting this papal and you're sending them to prison. Like, no, not like that. As bodies, as brothers and sisters in Christ, we're all on the same level, right? Like, I can judge just as much as Nyla can judge. If I judge Nyla, I'm not above Nyla. If Nyla judges me, she's not above me. But we're just holding each other accountable, right? So it's like correction. It's like holding each other accountable. It is not condemnation. And, you know, like I said, it's kind of like a worldly or secular doctrine where it's like, oh, well, you can't judge me. Don't judge me. And aren't Christians not supposed to judge? And everyone loves pulling up the judge not verse. And it's very funny. It's very misconstrued. Even to the extent that I remember I was talking to a Christian on campus, and this is actually my first time meeting this person, right? I was just talking to her because there was a guy on campus who overheard our conversation. Me and her were talking, and we were talking about like the faith in the Bible and whatnot. And I don't know how we ended up talking about having a conversation about judging and judging righteously. And she was like, "Oh, well, you know, I don't believe as Christians we should judge." And I'm like, "Did you know that the word judge is in the Bible?" Right? Like, I totally get. I'm not for condemning people. I'm not for making people feel bad about their sins. I'm not for making people feel like, you know, they're not saved just because they might struggle with some things, right? But we have to realize that God gives us the authority to use the words that are in his book, right? Like, forget about what the world says. If judgment is in the Bible and God has used that language, I'm going to use judgment. I don't care what the world says. I don't care what any other Christian tells me. Oh, well, you can't, don't say judge, just say correction. It's in the scriptures, so I'm going to use it. I have the authority to do that. I have the boldness in Christ to do that. But yeah, like, she was like basically saying like, yeah, I believe that we can hold each other accountable, but she didn't like the word judgment itself. And, you know, I guess there's some wisdom in that, right? Like, oh, you want to use the politically correct terms, right? You don't want to use words that, you know, the world might hate, but the world's gonna hate us regardless, right? We can't try to make the world hate us less, right? So, that's not really good.
Yeah, I know you said like using the word judge. I do prefer the word accountability because I think that it's important for other people that I'm talking to understand that when I say judge, most of the time, like, it's in the Bible, the word judge is in the Bible, but people are automatically thinking of condemnation, like you're going to hell.
Yeah.
That is not what we do. That is not what Christians are called to do. Accountability, I do prefer using that word. It's kind of funny to say that. I like using the word accountability because that's what we do. You are to hold people accountable. There's actually a song called Accountability. I don't know, it's by a Christian artist. Yeah. I'm gonna put that up there just in case anybody wants to listen to that. But yeah, we're called to hold people accountable, judging them as in telling them what you are doing is wrong. Like, I'm not going to let somebody continue to operate and walk in sin if I know that the way of the wicked leads down a certain path. Now, I'm not telling them that's where they're going to go because I don't know. Yeah. At the end of the day, I don't know what happens when, you know, it's your time and God is like, okay, so this is what you did. I don't know what happens because I'm not God. We can only, as Christians, judge other people in the church. If they're outside of the church, it's not all right for them to really tell them what to do. You know, with love and kindness, we're supposed to draw them in. And that's not to say once they get in the church, now we're like, pitchforking and like
as soon as they step foot in, you got the fork ready. Right. Like, you came to church, all right. Right.
No, we're not like become demonic all of a sudden now that they get in the church, but we have to remember that chastisement, like God, accountability, like God, is something that we're called to do. Yeah. Because if I don't tell you that your left foot is about to hit a banana peel, you might slip and fall.
Bust your head open.
Bust your head open and die. You don't want to die. But thank you guys for watching this video. I'm sorry if it was all over the place, but I'm pretty sure we hit everything on the head that we wanted to talk about. But we were just trying to keep it cool, keep it clean, and keep it Christ-like. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day.